Everybody ready? Call this meeting to order. Notice of a regular meeting, July 2026 at 5 p.m. City Council Chamber, 3947 Lincoln Avenue, Groves, Texas. If you'd all rise for the prayer and pledge, please.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to come together and make those decisions that are hopefully in the best interest of the citizens in the great state of Texas and the city of Groves. Thank you for these city council and mayor and these citizens. And we hope that they will do their best and remember that to make decisions that are in your best interests at heart. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4, roll call, city clerk.
Mayor Bourne,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Day. Here. Councilmember McAdams,
Here.
Councilmember Shalit,
Here.
Councilmember Holmes.
I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. Item 6, reports. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor, council, ask Marshall Robert to come up and, give you a quick report on our stop signs.
Mayor and council, good to see y'all. We, in this budgeting cycle, started talking about some of the intersections and potential official traffic control devices, just visiting me and the city manager. And we got to talk about the flashing stop signs at Cleveland and at Lincoln on 39th Street. And he requested we pull some data for 2 years prior to the installation of those two flashing stop signs and for 2 years since their installation. And if you can turn your attention to the screen here, you'll see that we had a pretty substantial decline in 2 of those categories when it came to citations written. And we do see one increase with the stop control citations there in Lincoln. But for the most part, a pretty steady decrease. And even though the 25% for the 39th Cleveland is a slight increase, you can see it's marginal compared to the decreases in the other categories. And I thought that was pretty interesting. You know, there's several different highways and roadways these days. 73, for instance, at dark, when there's a significant turn, they have the arrows that are yellow and black, and those are illuminated now. You can see them flashing. There's a few other highways in Orange 62 and a few others that have those same things. So those are starting to become quite popular, and it seems to be that there's some margin of effectiveness with them. So I just wanted to pass that on to you guys and give you all an update on these 2 signs specifically.
I have a question for you. So do we know that those are citations for running stop sign or are those for accidents?
So with the control citations and stop, those were specifically notated to the stop sign usage. For the citations in general, that would have been, you know, whether they're signaling, wrecks, or other things along those lines. And so that's how it's listed out here. We have citations listed as a whole, stop control citations, which are specific to those intersections, and then wrecks. And so you can see with the wrecks, those are different. No worries. Happy to assist. Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall.
Different topic, IT should be in this week, all the equipment and everything we need to have the iPads installed on the dais around, so they anticipate installing all that this week. So for the budget workshop and future meetings, that will all be in place, so you'll be able to see better next time.
Any other reports?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Ken Lofton, 3100 Eugenia Lane, Groves, Texas, Ward 4. I'd like to make a few quick comments about the Korean War armistice. Later this month, July 27th, will mark the 72nd year since the signing of the Korean War armistice. The Korean War Armistice Agreement was signed on July 27th, 1953, in the border village of Panmunjom, which lies out inside the demilitarized zone separating North and South Korea. Although technically leaving the two countries in a state of war, the agreement ended 3 years of battle. A key feature of the armistice is that no nation was a signatory to the agreement. It was purely a military document. That armistice established a complete cessation of all hostilities in Korea by all armed forces, which was to be enforced by the commanders on both sides. The armistice is only a ceasefire, however, rather than an agreement between the governments used to normalize relations. No formal peace treaty was ever signed, and normalized relations have not been restored to this day, which is why if you serve in Korea for 30 days, you're eligible to be a member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. You're still getting shot at. The DMZ was agreed to be a 2.5 mile wide fortified buffer zone between the two nations and is the most heavily defended national border in the world. The Korean War began on June 1950 and lasted until July of 1953. 5.8 million Americans served in the Korean War, with over 36,000 killed, over 103,000 wounded, and over 8,000 missing in action. When the conflict began, Americans were still rebuilding their lives in the aftermath of World War II, looking forward to a future filled with hope and prosperity. With freedom and democracy under threat at the Korean Peninsula, American soldiers left their homes and answered their country's call. Their resolve was tested in once obscure and unfamiliar places such as Pork Chop Hill, Heartbreak Ridge, Busan, the Chosin Reservoir, and we have a veteran in our post who served at the Chosin Reservoir. You can look that up, it's a pretty bad place, it was a pretty bad battle. And unnamed locations known only by grid coordinates or hilltop elevations. These individuals fought and died, many times suffering the brutal captivity to defeat and determined enemy in the harshest conditions. Their unquestioned valor and determination stopped communist aggression and restored liberty and dignity for the South Korean people. In our nation's capital, a black granite wall of the Korean War Veterans Memorial stands as a testament to their sacrifice with the words, "Freedom is not free." Today, the Republic of Korea, once decimated in the aftermath of war, is one of the most vibrant, dynamic, and economic prosperous democracies and one of our strongest allies. Our armed forces continue to serve proudly side by side with our Korean military counterparts. This ironclad alliance is vital to peace and stability in both Asia and the world. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other reports? All right, move on to number 7, citizen comments. I will tell you that under citizen comments, that is exactly what it is. It is an opportunity for citizens to make comments to the council, be heard by council. However, there are no discussions that come about that. And the reason for that is in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, council may not discuss or take action on any item that has not been posted on the agenda. While civil public criticism is not prohibited, disorderly conduct or disturbance of the peace is prohibited by law and shall be cause for the chair to terminate the defender's time to speak. Do we have any citizen comments? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address.
Brenda Coffey, I live at 5890 Hogwood, been there since 1979. And it's about the drainage. Should have the big square drainage like they did on the other side of Hogwood with the Drainage District 7, and on there they did the same thing. The 3 culverts that go across from Gulf, and go across Hogwood from Gulf, they're broke down, they're not all clear. So that causes a lot of flooding on that corner, and the whole thing was underwater, and I know it was something special, but I'm just saying that we really could use the same consideration that they did on Baird and the other end of Ogden. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Excuse me. All right, we'll move on. Item 8, we're gonna go into our public hearing. All right. Let's see. Notice of a public hearing. Notice is hereby given that a joint public hearing between the city council members and the planning and zoning commissioners will be held on Monday, July 13th, 2026, which begins at 5 p.m. at 3947 Lincoln Avenue, to consider a request from New Cathedral of Faith International for a specific use permit to locate a church use at 3500 Main Avenue, being 0.3395 acres of land out of and part of lots 32 and 33 of the Country Club Estates and Country Club Estates replat. In compliance with the zoning ordinance of the city of Groves, notice of such meeting shall be sent to each property owner located within 200 feet of said requesting location. As an interested property owner, you may express your views by attending the joint public hearing. For more information, contact George Wheeler at 409-960-5707 or email at gwheeler@cigrovestx.com. So this time we'll recognize the individual making a request. Do we have a representative from the church? Yes, sir, if you wouldn't mind, come to the podium. State your name and just tell us what you're doing.
My name is Pastor Clyde Dixon from the Cathedral of Faith.
Oh, hold on one second, Marshall, is that? Is this on? Okay.
My name is Pastor Clyde Dixon from New Cathedral of Faith Church of God in Christ International. We have a small community church, about 25 to 30 of us. We now residing at the First United Methodist Church over here off of Cleveland and Capital. We're renting an event center right now. We have a church up there. We seen this building, we pursued it, we bought it, paid for it. Now we asking the city to allow us to continue on having church at the new location, 3500 Main Avenue. It look like it's we thank God for the community. We come to him to be a blessing, and people come to shop at your stores. Do what we could to enhance the community. And we seen the community is blessed. That's a good piece of ground. Hopefully we can grow. If we grow out of it, we'll sell it, give it back to the community. Somebody else can use it. We rode around, me and my wife, and looked at the community and seen there was some fine people here. We enjoyed First United Methodist Church. We thank God for them for allowing us to use their facility. They've been very nice to us, and hopefully we can continue. Thank you, and we appreciate y'all. Thank you. And George has been a blessing to us.
Thank you.
We thank God for him. He worked with us and continue to work with us. So we just hope the community will allow us to continue on. Thank you.
Any questions from council?
Yeah, Mayor, I had a question for, I guess it's planning Tony, or is it Mr. Wheeler? I thought so.
You can ask it to either one.
Okay. I just want to be sure that a place of worship, I didn't know if it fall under the same requirements for commercial use, like I'm thinking about NFPA standards. I know there were some changes this past year as far as fire codes and sprinkler or fire detection systems or something. Can you guys speak to that?
Yes, sir. I have looked at it. And the size of it is not even close to the threshold that requires a sprinkler system or a fire alarm system as far as that goes. They do have exit signs at the eager stores and, they're not gonna do no cooking really in there,
Gotcha.
so.
Okay, I couldn't remember what the threshold was, I knew it was in the 2,000 to 2,500 square foot range, so.
Yeah.
You know, just didn't want to overlook that, that's no further questions, Mayor.
Yeah, everything else up to code, everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Any questions from the planning and zoning commission? Okay. Thank you, Mr. George. Hang out just in case we need another question for you, but.
Sure.
At this time, we'll ask any property owners within 200 feet who wish to speak in support of the request. Come to the podium. Is there a sign up for that one?
There's just,
Okay.
for all, it's a support.
This is, property owners within 200 feet who wish to speak in support of the request. Okay, item number 6, the property owners within 200 feet who wish to speak against the request. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
State your name, you will have to sign the sheet.
Oh, okay.
There's an opposition sheet.
Should say within 200 feet, yes, no, next one.
Oh, she's good on
Yeah.
she just make sure we sign the right one.
Within.
And how do you do for and against? I mean, it's not like I did have questions. How do you sign that? It's not like you're drawing an against. Where's the middle?
Well, it's all gonna be, you're gonna say it out loud, so I guess if you go ahead and sign one of them. Or, right now, we're in against, so go ahead and sign against, and then you can take your piece and we'll go about that.
Is that good enough? Just put my name down first, or other girl's address or thing right now.
No, you can just state your.
Okay, I'm Trisha Hernandez. Own Trisha's Salon next door to this facility, where they're located. My question is parking. How are you gonna park for a church in such a small little parking lot? There's literally like 10 spots for a 25 to 30 people congregation. I feel like it would go into maybe my property line, which is my personal space. And if someone was to hurt themselves on my property on a Sunday, you know, there's 20
Yes, ma'am.
for sure. For sure.
They would restrike.
Okay. Like, okay.
So the
I
planning
mean,
zone,
my parking lot has 20. I can't imagine that one having 20. Cause I have the backyard in the front and they only have the front and side, you know? So there's literally 20 spots. Yeah.
the ordinance requires minimum of 10.
Oh,
But
that is okay.
they have,
So if they end up having a larger gathering, I guess they just choose where they're gonna park.
I think that pretty much goes where
Yeah.
this church parks in City Hall parking lot.
Sure. And then my other thing is another church open in our town that we're losing tax dollars again. That I thought about that. That property was paying full tax dollars and now we're not gonna have that anymore, but I'm not gonna get this to the church part of it. You know, it's just like that was another concern I thought about, you know.
Mr. Monk, can you speak to the legal part of that? Is we can't prohibit
We
them.
just can't make decisions on that basis.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
If the property wasn't, if it didn't fit the ordinances,
yeah.
that's one thing, but if everything fits,
Uh-huh.
I don't think legally we can actually say no.
And I personally have never met them, so I don't, we might just have a great relationship, I don't know. My past experiences with everybody who's been to the right, left of me has been very negative, except for when Ray was there. She's my only positive that I've ever dealt with in either business to my right or left, and I've been there 36 years. So, you always you want peace and happiness and, yeah, I will say Ray was the one that did it. Yeah. So that was my only concern. I was just thinking of parking. and things like that, using our property. My personal property, so. And that's all. Good,
Yes, ma'am.
alright, so need to blow more of this out. Thanks.
No, we got you.
Thanks.
Any other property owners within 200 feet who wish to speak against the request? Okay, item 7, citizens of Groves who wish to speak in support of the request. Last call, citizens of Groves who wish to speak in support. And then any citizens of Groves who wish to speak against the request. Last call, citizens of Groves who wish to speak against the request. Okay, no action will be taken at this meeting. The Planning and Zoning Commission will meet independently Tuesday, the 14th at 6 p.m. here and submit a recommendation to the City Council. Final determination of the request will be made at a future City Council meeting. This closes our public hearing. Thank you. Okay. Item number 9. Deliberate and act on the minutes of the June 22nd, 2026 City Council meeting.
I'll make a motion, we deliberate and act on the minutes of the June 22nd, 2026 City Council meeting.
I'll second. Have a motion and a second to deliberate and act on the minutes of the June 22nd, 2026 City Council meeting. Do I have any questions? Being no questions, we'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem Gay.
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams. Aye. Councilmember Schlett.
Aye.
Councilmember Holmes.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 10, receipt the minutes of the June 15, 2026 Planning and Zoning meeting. I believe everybody has a copy. Informational only. Item 11, hearing deliberate on a presentation of the 2026 utility rate study. This is informational, Mr. Cruth.
Well, Mayor and Council, we have Matthew Garrett here tonight. You've seen him before. He versus the original rate study it's 2 years back, 2024.
Right.
And then he's been helping us with the transportation use fee. So he will present the latest updated version of the utility rate study. And I'll turn it over to you. You've got the clicker.
Yes, sir.
He'll give you the screen here in a minute.
Fair enough. Well, hi, good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Again, Matthew Garrett, glad to be back before you. Really appreciate your team and all the work they put into the details. We try to extract a lot of data to do what we do. So between Kevin, Lamar, and their respective teams, we've been in front of them and behind the scenes pulling data. So thank you to that team for that effort. I want to go over relatively quickly. Feel free to stop me if you want to go deeper on a topic. If you need to speed me up, just give me the sign. But basically, like each year, we want to look at this utility. We want to make sure that it's self-sufficient. These are enterprise funds. They operate like a business, big quotes, quasi, but it makes sense that this would pay for itself, that it's self-supporting. So we look at it in isolation. I believe you're going to see a lot of other items on general funds and maybe special use funds, but this is water and wastewater centric. And so that's what we've isolated for. You are funding major capital projects around 33 million over this 5-year horizon. The most recent bond issuance is covering the bulk of that. We do anticipate and have forecasted additional bond issuances next fiscal year, or possibly the 2028, but right now we're assuming 2027. So we have a plan to fund that as we've produced here to share with you. So again, these are just the details I've already kind of referenced. 25 million from the 26 bond issuance, 5.7 million anticipated with 27 bond series. That includes 5.5 million of today dollar projects with a bit of inflation. That will support projects that have a useful life of somewhere between 10 and 40 years. So we have one tranche or series anticipated at a 10-year note. That'll be for water tank restoration, rehab items, things that aren't gonna last you 30 years, so the 10-year note makes sense. We have some pipe bursting and other large expenses. We have a slide on all this too, that are more long-lived, and those are assumed to be on a 20-year note. So we've matched that general principle. And then before we get into all the details, I want to share, as we discussed last year with staff, we were looking at 5.75% increases despite the additional capital load of a few special projects I think you've all been briefed on. We were able to maintain the 5.75% increase per annum. So good news. We'll have some other details, but that was a sigh of relief after looking at the capital plan. So under the hood, there are some key assumptions, right? So we've taken the 27 preliminary budget from Lamar and team. We plugged that in for fiscal years 28 through 31. We had to make some assumptions. Those assumptions are outlined on screen. Pretty simple. Municipal cost index is sometimes used. Here we actually use a survey of professional forecasters. We're assuming about 2.5 to 2.6% general inflation. On top of that, we do have our own salary cost at 5%, benefits at 12%. And a few other items that we forecast. One other critical point around Groves is you don't have growth to rely on. I work with a number of communities around the state and in other states, and those that are burgeoning with growth, just tons of growth coming in. Growth is just paying for everything and the rates can be held flat. You don't have that benefit here in Groves. So we've assumed zero growth. It's not a bad thing, but as cities mature, you're stuck with inflation, which all of us experience, but no additional payers to carry that fixed load. So I thought that was an important detail to share with you that we aren't anticipating growth. Generally, overall, expenses are relatively low with operating expenses 2.2% year over year. If we annualize and average that out for the 5-year horizon, so not a lot going on there. Unlike the capital plan, still clicking.
It's going, it's at the top, what's going on?
I don't know.
Moving the top.
I think it's because we clipped and moved the Zoom, and so you click back on the slide. Oh, I broke it. No, you did not. I'm qualified. Give it a try. Gotcha. All right, thank you. Excellent. So total expenses, again, in contrast to that operating expense, we just looked at 2.2%. Your total overall expenses are 8.3% per year. When you add in that 2026 debt issuance, that's anticipated to be that yellow bar, has an increase in fiscal 27. We issue in 26, the first principal and interest payment and be in the subsequent year is our assumption. And then you'll see that orange bar stacks on for the smaller issuance I just discussed. So a pretty heavy lift on capital. If you were to tackle these with cash, of course, the bar would be substantially higher and the rate needed would be substantially higher. So we've done our best to smooth that out. In our industry, we call that intergenerational equity because we like big words. But the idea is this asset, which is going to be good for 10 years, can be paid for by the payers and the utility customers in 10 years. Those that are going to be 20 to 50 years, we can pay over a 20-year note and it's fair and reasonable, hence the equity around those decisions to stretch out some of the utility costs. Moreover, right now, you don't need the sticker shock of what it would take to cash fund that. So all three of those things together make this plan make sense to me.
So another way to put that is the people who are using it will be the ones paying for it.
Absolutely. Any questions on the details on expenses? All right, so a little bit more detail here on the CIP. I believe you've seen your capital plan, so I won't belabor this. Just wanted to point out the two different types of series there circled in the middle. These numbers are different than your CIP because I had inflation. You may be seeing your CIP in today dollars. So where you see 2.5 on your sheet, I've got 2.57. But that's just a conservative measure. Again, if I'm going to conservatively forecast, I'm going to tell you need a little more and things come back better, as opposed to telling you don't need as much and the bill's higher. So I try to do that both on the revenue side and the expense side. All right. So with CIP behind us, we kind of layered in all of the expenses. Remember, 8% per year. Current rates don't work. I know we're not shocked, but it's important to show you this because at your level, right, and there at the dais, you have to make decisions. And this is the reason I contend you have to make a decision about your water rates. because you can't stay here. Current rates will not meet the plan to support the utility that you need. It's a privilege to serve water, it's also a duty, right? Okay, to have adequate and continuous and clean water for your residents. I understand these capital projects are needed, hence the current rates will not suffice. So what do? Proposed rates, we put together a proposed rate plan. You'll see the effect of those 5.75% increases each year. On residential, commercial, and the volumetric charges. So I won't read this entire table to you. Any questions on your rate design? Thoughts? No? Okay. So those are your water rates. So too on wastewater, we have minimum charges, we have volumetric charges. We differentiate between units and commercial. And you'll see the effect of those 5.75% increases on this slide. For a little history, in the 2024 study that Kevin referenced, we did anticipate you would need 10% increases for the next several years. In 2025, we did an update, things were looking a little better. We had not employed as much debt in 2025 forecast. And here we are in 2026 with more capital. We've stretched a little bit more with the debt that we've put in for 27, and we're able to accommodate and maintain the prior rate plan at 5.75. And I know an increase of any measure isn't fun to do. However, I think this was a positive, given the condition and the needs that we saw once we opened this up this year. All right, so this dashboard is really just a proof that the rates that we've proposed meet the conditions. I glossed over this real quickly, the bars from left to right, those are your revenues versus your expenses per year. The debt service coverage ratio, when you take out debt, you promise the bondholders to not only pay the note, but pay some portion over. And so a 1 times coverage means I've paid all my operating expenses and I have all the dollars I need to pay my debt. Anything over a 1, here we have a target of 1.1, says I've paid all my operating expenses, I'm able to pay my debt, and I've got 10% more than the debt payments for that year. Right, so this is just prudent management. You don't want to be paycheck to paycheck. You'd like your current revenues to cover your expenses. This policy ensures that you have a buffer. Lastly, your days cash on hand. Again, we don't want to run the checkbook down to 0 and rebuild. And so we have a minimum floor of 90 days operating, and we have this target of 180 days that we're able to maintain in your cash balance. All right, so what may really matter, what translates most to the folks behind me and the folks at home probably is their bill. And so the residential average monthly bill, your typical usage here is around 4,000 gallons a month. And so what you see on screen is a bill calculated for that. I apologize, it's not in your packet. We were meeting a deadline. So we gave all the slides up to about here. And here we have what is a comparison of that bill. If you can't see it, the current bill for 4,000 gallons totals up to $73.25. And in the next year, that'll increase by $4.19. Rising to $77.44. And the pattern continues. You see the increases at a perfect 560. We, of course, aren't doing fractional pennies. And so there may be some rounding that occurs there. Any questions on the rate plan? Of course, as a part of the budget, you're not going to be asked to make decisions for 28 through 31. We're just giving you forecasts so you see what's coming on the horizon. Certainly a part of prudent management and utilities to have a long-term forecast. So kudos to Kevin and team for making sure you have one of those. Because you could make a decision on 0 today and have cash meeting conditions in 1 year, but in 28 through 31, you're going to need 8% increases off the cuff. That's not a real number. But ultimately, if you don't get it today and maintain a gradual rate increase to keep up with growing expenses, you're going to find an edge of a cliff that you have to take on, or maybe at the base and you have to climb. I don't know, but whichever metaphor you like, a bigger increase is due if you put it off. And so in our industry, we have a phrase rate gradualism. That's this idea that you don't want rate shock to your residents. We know these expenses are going up, just like we all know we need new tires somewhere in the next 50,000 miles. This is planning for that thing we know is going to happen. And so that's the way we approach it in utility. Okay. So commercial, again, we've looked at a 10,000 gallon commercial customer. I won't read all these numbers to you if you can see it. But the same percent increase will apply to your commercial customers against the current rate design. And the way you stack up, we call this a regional bill comparison. But ultimately, you're not even maybe top quartile, maybe you're right there at that edge, but kind of top middle of the pack. Even after this rate change, you're still in the relative position the same on your residential bill, growing from 73.25 to 77.44. Moreover, I'm showing you your 2027 rates against everybody else's current rates. And it's very likely the communities listed here are going to be taking rate action, and I don't know what those are yet, so we're comparing next year for you to their current year. So we don't really know who all is going to change in relative position. With that, just a quick summary, we anticipate that city staff is going to bring this rate design along with the budget that it supports back in front of you as a part of the budget process. Tonight, we're not looking for any action, of course, just wanting to get your feedback. I'm here tonight, so if you have any deep questions, it's a good time for it. And I'd be glad to field any other questions you may have.
I have a question there.
Yes, sir.
So one of the questions or comments I get from citizens is, hey, it's like our cost for wastewater or sewer is higher than water. So and is that due to the added cost of that utility, or is that something that's changed in recent years you've seen with communities doing that rate differently?
Yeah, so I mean, wastewater treatment, I don't know if I've done this here or not, but one of my favorite visuals I share at councils is if I bring both of those up in a gallon, right? Milk jugs, and I set them here, and I show you like, Sabine water, and I show you wastewater. Which one do you think costs more to get right? Right? Wastewater treatment is substantially expensive. Not to mention, you have a relatively low water purchase price through the lower Neches Valley, right? So you've got a relatively low cost of source water. So my Central Texas clients, Georgetown and the like, are looking for additional water supplies. So to buy water at today's market rate, to get new water is very expensive. But if you're a part of a system and you aren't taking substantially large volumes where they're not having to increase capacity, water in and of itself is relatively inexpensive compared to wastewater treatment. On top of all the new requirements of wastewater treatment, and I can't speak to other wastewater treatment processes or plant conditions here, but it is relatively universal that wastewater costs more. Absent again what I said, new market water is pretty expensive too.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Well, what you're treating is harder to treat because there's more stuff in the wastewater than what's the raw water that we're taking. But the treatment process itself is more intensive and more expensive.
Yeah.
So
One of the things we did with our rates the last couple of years is we made a shift to that wastewater to kind of catch up on the bill, the sewer bill. Is that accurate?
to make it self-sustaining,
Okay.
yes.
Gotcha.
Any other questions for Mr. Beard? Okay, thank you, sir.
Well, for sure, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Item 11, 12, or, not 11, just item 12, deliver an act on the appointment of members to the Community Advisory Committee for the Comprehensive Plan.
I make a motion to deliberate and act on the appointment of members of the Community Advisory Committee for the comprehensive plan.
One second.
Have a motion and a second to deliberate and act on the appointment of members to the Community Advisory Committee for the Comprehensive Plan. Mr. Cruz, do I have to explain?
Mayor Council wants on the screen right now. You have hard copies at your place. These are names that were suggested, and none of these individuals have been contacted some of them that are in the audience today, are saying it's for the first time. And you were requested to rank order preferences, so I collected those over the weekend and used a weighted ranking system called the Boris 4 to combine all of your individual rankings, and that's what you have in front of you. This comprehensive citizens advisory committee is required as part of the comprehensive plan. There will be a minimum of 3 meetings of this body. There could be more, but at each major milestone in the comp plan process, this group will get together and provide their input on that stage of the process. And like I said, there could be additional meetings beyond those 3, but there will be a minimum of 3. And what we would hope to this body to be is representative of the community in terms of geographically our community, but also backgrounds, socioeconomic as well. So the initial list tried to address that, but you'll see that we struggled with coming up with things in Ward 4. But we got a pretty decent representation from 2 and 3. 1 is a little thin and 4 was difficult. So this is for your action side preferably, so we can get the ball rolling on the comp plan process and get them organized. But it doesn't actually have to be done tonight, but if not tonight, then by the next meeting.
Mr. Manager, I have a question. If these people have not been contacted,
They have not been contacted.
okay, so if they choose not to, then we just keep going down the list.
Correct.
Do we need to make a consideration to move up one of the Ward 4 personnel into the top 12 to at least have asked at least one from every ward?
I would recommend that. We need to have, I think, every ward represented by at least one person. Historically, I think we should always struggle with getting participation from Ward 4.
So based on this, it would be number 15, Maria Gomez would move into the 12th spot and push everybody down one.
And you could name some of those lower ranked ones as alternates perhaps, so if we get some people who don't want to participate or for whatever reason, we could go down on the alternate list.
What is the minimum you have to have, Mr. Cruz?
There's no magic number, but we don't want it, we need a Goldilocks number, not too big, not too small. The recommendation was 10, 12.
Recommendation.
I guess what I'm asking is if we gave you a list of 12 and 4 said no, could we come back to the list again? Or do we need to actually give you 19 people and just let you keep going down the list? Or do you want to just,
We could do 12 and see what we end up with. And
Could we contact them first and then come back and just see who is volunteering and who isn't, and then we could get an accurate. Do the whole deal.
well, good. My only concern with that would be delaying the process, 2 more weeks.
So your recommendation is we have vote the entire list, but you just go down as needed.
Correct.
were there any write-ins from council members?
There were I think there were 3 altogether, maybe 4. And they were all down below the line.
Can names still be added to the list?
It's up to the council.
Mr. Manager, as far as the schedule for where we're at in that comprehensive planning process, are we at a point where these folks need to be nominated because that's delaying the process?
Freeze and Nichols wanted to start getting them onboarded within the next couple of weeks. So it'd be delayed till the next council meeting. That would just, push that back that much. Or it, again, it's not a fatal,
Yes.
act by any means, but it's just 2 more weeks.
Most of the top 12 there have some form of public service. So I don't think there would be too much out of their normal round to volunteer. So we wanted to go ahead and approve it. That would be a good recommendation, so.
Guess my only recommendation would be at least move one of the Ward 4 candidates up to the 12th spot.
I agree with that.
Good luck.
I believe Marshall spoke on behalf of Ms. Gomez.
That's correct.
So if we were to move her into the 12th spot, move everybody down one and go with that, and then you could report back for any openings at Warfield.
Okay.
That at least gets you started. And if there's any other actions that need to be taken, we can punt, I guess, this, the regroup, I guess, is the next one for the next meeting. Mr. Monk, how would you like to hear this? Is there a need for an amendment or just approve as spoken?
Approve as spoken.
Okay. So all council members agree to move Ms. Gomez into the 12th spot?
Yes.
And then have Mr. Caruth contact the top 12 and ask for participation, and anyone who is denied, we will regroup to appoint those as well. Does that work for you?
Is it okay to give them the authority to just go all the way down the list if they don't get 12, or is that?
If you look, I guess the last 5 or so, they were each on one ballot each. That may be an opportunity for, I guess, anyone at this point, anyone else who wants to be considered could contact Mr. Ruth in case there is an opening.
Okay.
And then we can review another list at that time, or if any of the council members have another recommendation, they could potentially fall into the alternate spots as well. Does that sound fair to everyone?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you only have 2 people from Ward 4 up there, and why are they on the list? Why aren't you moving both up from 4 up, so all wards have an equal amount of say? Why do you just have 2 people from Ward 4 on there and then way at the bottom?
That was just the names that were brought to us.
So, okay. So. It doesn't really matter what ward they're in.
Well, we're trying to have at least some representative from each ward.
Okay.
3 has quite a few. One only has 2. 2 has 4. Along with their backgrounds, I mean, it was between the city and the council members, that's how the list was kind of generated. Man, I don't have a problem with moving more than one of the Ward 4s in there. But then you'd be down to 3 of the Ward 2s. And you'd have 2 from each, and that's it, that's saying that everybody agrees to it. What do y'all think? This is a decision.
We move forward.
What do we consider equal representation, Mr. Monk?
I think if you are fine with the number that you choose, if you choose to just have one, I don't think there's anything that requires equal representation on the rules.
Okay,
We can also, if we have a withdrawal from the list, then we can reconsider the other or a new nominee if someone comes up.
and I would say that anybody from Ward 4 who's interested, please contact Mr. Councilmember Gay and get your name on the list. Okay. Any other recommendations at this time? Mr. Monk, are we satisfied with what we need to vote on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any last questions? No other questions, we'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem Gay.
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Shalit.
Aye.
Councilmember Holmes.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 13, receive the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget from the city manager. This is informational only.
Well, Mayor and Council, as you know, the budgeting process, we have to balance what's required for by the charter, by state law, and by the publication schedule of our newspaper of record. So you're being presented the budget tonight. It'll be placed on the website tomorrow, and we will have a budget workshop a week from tonight. We'll go over the budget in detail, and you'll be able to have questions, answers at that time. Thank you.
Item 14, approve public hearings date for appropriation ordinance and budget. This is the motion item.
Make a motion, we approve a public hearing date for the appropriation ordinance and budget.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the public hearing date for appropriation ordinance and budget. This council will approve the date, public hearing on the budget and appropriation ordinance. Aligned with the state law and the city charter, publication schedules, the public hearing must be August 3rd. Do we need to include that date?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I wish we'd read that first. Could have just done that, but, any questions at this point before we start, before we do an amendment? Mr. Holmes?
That's a not regular council meeting, I'm correct.
Let's see.
That is correct, I was
It's
just.
not a regular council meeting. It is a special meeting. Okay.
All right, I'll amend my motion to include the public hearing for August the 3rd.
Or, second. Have an amended motion to include the date of August 3rd, public hearing date for appropriation ordinance and budget. And second, now on your questions. This falls in line with our proposed calendar and schedule. Okay. Any other questions? No other questions, we'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem Gay.
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Shalit.
Aye.
Councilmember Holmes.
Aye.
Motion passes. 15, deliberate and act on the July 13, 2026 invoice list.
I make a motion, we deliberate and act on the July 13, 2026 invoice list.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to deliberate and act on the July 13, 2026 invoice list. On the question, Mr. Crew.
Mayor and council, we have several things on the list tonight. First is Blades Group for rock asphalt, $13,152. Rivertech Southwest, Pacific Hydroxide, $8,502.64. Chemtex Environmental Lab Charges, $5,946. City of Port Arthur, sludge disposal, $5,624.28. Chamber of Commerce, $17,500. Hoist Crane and Service Group, replacement of the jib trolley and hoist at Taft Lift Station, $25,368.57. Two invoices to Lloyd Gosling for Star Lake. One's for $8,854.50. Second one's $22,256.50. Municipal H2O for EPA compliance, $6,000. PVSDX, chlorine and SO2 at wastewater plant, $14,301.60. Trantex products for laser paint striper, street department, $14,603. Wax Bank for fleet fuel, $24,632.40. And Zone Industrial for rebuild of Taft Lift Station pump number 5, $40,310 for a grand total of $207,051.49.
Other questions?
Couple questions, for folks with streets. This rock asphalt patch, is that the new type of material that we were trying out, or is it the traditional type of material?
It's the new asphalt.
And, the laser paint striper, is that like painting white stripes and yellow stripes, or?
Yes, just like we've been doing on 39th Street, it's a new machine. We were renting that last machine. First their own.
Thank you.
The two repairs to the Taft Lift Station, budgeted or not budgeted?
Not budgeted.
I remember I was fixing that crane before.
We fixed the actual crane itself. This time was it was the metal that holds the crane itself on there. So now the actual crane has been fixed. Yeah.
Okay, and then the pump rebuild, was that a backup pump or was that
That's
the
a
main
main
one?
pump. It's just, they go out and you have to fix them.
Do we still have a
We still have-
redundant system there?
Yes.
Okay.
The gantry system or the hoist systems in throughout the city, they do an annual inspection.
Yes, they have to.
That's required.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? No other questions, we'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem Gay.
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Shalit.
Aye.
Councilmember Holmes.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 16, city council holding executive session pursuant to the provisions of chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in section 551.0711A, consultation with attorney when the government body seeks the advice of its attorney about pending or contemplated litigation. We will enter into executive session at 5:59. Good. Okay, we'll reconvene at 6:35 into open session. And items 18 here, deliberate on council member comments.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to comment on the bike safety Saturday. I think it was a great event. I mean, I think we had 25, 30 kids that did the obstacle course. We had more people there than we had volunteers, so it was a great event for the first time. And other than the early rain that put a damper on things, it was a great success. I also would like to encourage the citizens of Groves, if you are interested in serving on the planning and zoning board, please fill out an application. We've had a recent resignation and we need volunteers for the planning and zoning board. But
Any other council member comments? All right. Being no other comments, we'll adjourn at 6:37. Thank you.
So we don't shoot the ball. Well, I don't live that way.